Welcome to another episode on cybersecurity. We endeavor to bring professionals to this platform and talk about various aspects of cybersecurity, emerging trends, and challenges. And today, to have this conversation, I have an industry professional, a founding member of the Pune chapter, Anand Karyekar. He is here to talk about application security. And I'm sure all of you will agree with me that the world is powered through applications. Our life revolves around application. Our life is dependent on application. So, how important is it to factor in cybersecurity? Is the conversation that we're going to have today, both for apps which are on smart devices and also applications which enable businesses. Anand, welcome to the show.
Sujit, I'm really excited to join you as we discuss, different aspects of application security. Uh, like you said, application security is really important. Any business or organization that has or builds an application or product, or you know, anything that is an interface to underlying users' uh, assets like data, networks, devices, that's a vector, and that needs to be protected. So organizations need to have a proper defined application security posture. So in this episode, I would like to highlight practical techniques, that have actually worked in the industry, which actually go a long way in designing, building, and maintaining a strong application security posture, which is in line with your business. So firstly, organizations need to run application security as a program. Now, what I mean by that is all the rigors of program management, starting from chartering, planning, designing, implementation, monitoring, continuous improvement, all this needs to be built for application security. Now, depending on your business, you may be referring to one or two applications or products, or you may be looking at a set of applications and products across your entire division or department. But if you run it as an app, as a program, you get the benefits of consistency and scalability. Now, if you have services of TPM, Technical Program Manager, these would be good resources to run this program. But if not, any leader in your group can actually drive this as a program. Now, CISOs and leaders need to find out through risk assessments what are the gaps, what are traditionally been their weaknesses, what governance they already have versus what do they need. And depending on that, they need to develop and fund an application security program with clear objectives and metrics. For example, they can actually use OAups, software assurance maturity model.
Right. So Anand, you spoke about the risk, you spoke about the threat modeling, right? I keep hearing the word shift left. What does it mean? What does it mean to a person who is developing an application? What does it mean to somebody who is going to consume the applications? Can you share some insights on that?
Sure. So shift left is basically, taking security right from the get-go. So if you look at the secure software development lifecycle, in the past, there have been instances, and we have basically bolted security at the end, and that has a lot of the problems because security is not considered right from your requirements and design phase. So shifting left basically means you shift left into these phases of software development lifecycle. So basically, security should be considered right from the get-go, right when you sit down for chartering an application, chartering the program. So that is what is shift left.
Okay. So, would you say that things like people talk about vulnerability assessment, penetration testing, red teaming, and I keep even hearing about bugs bounty? Does it form part of shift left or is it a separate thing?
Um, I mean, a lot of these things are the security efforts that happen in different phases of the software development life cycle. But when you hear about a lot of these different things, essentially there are different parts that need to come together to build this security application security posture. So we can talk about these parts, one by one.
Yeah.
First is static analysis. So ideally, this should be part of your check-in, check-out system, right? So
Hmm.
whenever you are introducing new code or you're introducing any changes to your software code, security analysis should be done so you don't add net new issues, right?
Hmm.
Again, in the past, application programmers, we basically used to only look at errors because that's where you get stuck. We kind of looked at the warnings, but really didn't. And a lot of these warnings actually lead to some bad programming patterns, which lead to insecurities like buffer overflow and other things like race conditions and things like that. So you basically need to have a proper static analyzer and a process around it. The next part is dynamic testing. So this is where you test your product actually when it's running with all its runtime configurations and settings. Then another part you would have heard about is third-party analysis. So your software is built up of a lot of different components and libraries, which you have sourced from different vendors. You basically need a tool which can look at all this software component analysis and find out whether you are using any libraries or components that are known to have vulnerabilities. Then the next part, you're kind of referring to in the previous question is threat modeling. So this is where you actually take a look at your entire application or product or any one part of it, depending on what your scope is, and detect different threats and threat vectors for your application. And then what do you do about that is based on your risk management process. But threat modeling, it's done in your when you actually design the application, but it actually has to be done on a continuing basis. So the organization that I was working in the past, we had something like CTM, continuous threat modeling. So
Hmm.
anytime when you're making some big changes, updates, when you're basically changing the assumptions that you're based your thinking on, that's a good time to actually look at your threat model and update it.
Right. And you explained shift left, you talked about risk assessment, and you also spoke about threat modeling. Would it increase the cost? Would it delay the projects?
Yes, the short answer is yes. It would increase the cost
Hmm.
at the get-go. But if you look at the entire life cycle of the product, the cost is very less. You will get tremendous cost benefits because if you find the vulnerabilities earlier in the software development lifecycle, the
Hmm.
cost of finding and fixing them is really small compared to something that you have to turn around and fix when things are out in the field. When your product or software is deployed, that's when we have to basically jump in and do patches, updates, hot fixes, and that is very costly. So in the long run, it's not costly, but initially when you're driving the program, there has to be this acknowledgement that we will basically slow down to actually move faster later. So we'll
Right.
actually incur the cost upfront.
So if you don't do it, you'll move faster, but you'll slow down later.
Yes.
So, Anand, thank you so much for setting the stage for the rest of the conversation. Where when we come back in the next episode, we're going to talk about the importance of vulnerability management and the application security posture. So, viewers, this is going to be a three-part episode where we're going to talk about the introduction. Going to talk about the application security posture, and then we are going to talk about anti-patterns, right? I'm not going to preempt as to what these anti-patterns are. I'm going to get Anand to walk you through what it is. So I don't want you to miss out on the future episodes. The reason being, applications are going to ensure that organizations gain to run their business and enable their processes. Right. So, with that note, Anand, thank you so much for being here for the first episode, and I look forward to hosting you for the second and the third episode, which is yet to come. Right, viewers, thank you so much for listening. Uh, as always, I ask, like the video, hit the subscribe button and share it with your friends, your colleagues. Yeah, you can actually make the best use of some of the knowledge which you gain out of these conversations. So see you in the next episode. Thank you so much.